This is Mark at videogamemuseum.com. I'd like to show you how to clean the inside of an NES cartridge. Of course, here we have Mario Duck Hunt, and the inside of a cartridge is prone to get pretty dirty. When we were kids, we thought that blowing in these would help them work. Maybe it did, but it definitely made them worse in the long run. As you can see inside, there are a number of pins, and these are just metal pins that make contact inside of the Nintendo. These corrode over time, and it's best to, of course, keep them clean if possible. Back in the day, different parties sold cleaning kits for these, and all they are essentially is some sort of solvent like a rubbing alcohol or some other mixture, and some sort of a pad that you'd use to clean it. So a lot of people are big fans of rubbing alcohol. I think it's great. Rubbing alcohol, you can't go wrong with. And a Q-tip, get it wet, scrub those contacts, and you'll do great. My personal favorite is good old WD-40. I spray it in the cap of the WD-40 can and dip in the Q-tips and then scrub them. So I'm going to open this cartridge up before I clean it, just to sort of show you how fully what we're dealing with here. In order to open it, you can clean NES cartridges without opening them, just by scrubbing the insides of those contacts with the Q-tips, as such, with whatever you want to use as a cleaner. Don't get them too moist. You don't want water or anything else, I mean any other cleaning solvent, to drip inside. But really it's like brushing your teeth for a game or something. So here's what we have here is a NES security bit. It's a 3.8mm security bit. It has tiny little teeth there that grip around the security screw inside of the NES. So these can be put into your average screwdriver handle. So what I'm going to do is open up this game. There are generally 3 screws in the back of most newer NES games. Oldest ones have 5 screws. You also run into just flat, plain screws inside them as well. Alright, so we have a pretty small board inside of this one, big cartridge, and not a whole lot here. Okay, so as you can see, these pins are pretty filthy. Both sides show some pretty good grime there. What we're going to do is take on just one side here, and we're going to use some WD-40 and clean it, just so you can see what that looks like. So of course I've got the Q-tips moistened. Alright, already we're getting some dirt there. Alright, it's starting to come off a little bit, but you can also tell there's going to be, even with whether it's rubbing alcohol or WD-40, we're still going to get some left behind there. So I'm going to use the other end of the Q-tip, do a little rubbing alcohol, and just show you how it works on the other side. Like I said before, you can do this with the game fully closed. This just allows us to take a look at the inside more closely with the camera. Try not to get it too wet. Okay. Alright, so WD-40, rubbing alcohol, just looking at it, there's still quite a bit of grime there, right? So I'm going to show you another method that's even better. Both these are pretty good. That'd probably be a playable game at that point. But there's a thing called brass and copper cleaner. I believe these are just copper contacts. I think these are just copper contacts. So you can get all different types of brass and copper cleaner. This one's a copper cleaner called Twinkle. get at my local hardware store. It's pretty amazing. So I'm going to wipe off the remaining WD-40 and rubbing alcohol with the rag that I have here. Alright, inside of the Twinkle canister, just lid comes off. There's a little sponge, sort of like when you're waxing your car or something. And I'm going to put a little bit of this cleaner over top of that spot that I already tried to clean with WD-40 and with the rubbing alcohol. I'm just going to let it sit there for a minute. Of course, I'm not going to touch the other side of the cartridge just for comparison's sake. So, besides the fact that these are, games that we're blowing in as kids, they're just old. Things get old and dusty and grimy, and anything that relies on a contact like this is just going to need to be cleaned over time. So it's pretty normal that even a decent game is going to need to have a little bit of cleaning. All right, I let it sit for a little bit. Now I'm just going to take a rag that I have here and try to wipe off some of that cleaner. So in the meantime, obviously I'm also, as I'm wiping it off, I'm also cleaning it just through some basic abrasion. Alright, look at that. Tell me that's not getting cleaned. Fresh part of the rag. Alright, just compare the two right there. That is pretty amazing. Quite shiny versus, you can still see it underneath there, all that grime. Alright, there you go. Fresh part of the rag. So yeah, obviously if you want to use what was the best thing possible, it'd be opening this up, using some brass and copper cleaner. That's just a brass cleaner I have there, and cleaning it. That is just incredibly shiny. The other side you can see sort of the before and after. You can see all those pens are still pretty nasty, versus these that are just awesome looking now. Not quite new, but looking pretty new. So I'm going to just flip this over and do the other side as well. Obviously this can be pretty labor intensive if you're doing each game like this. This would be a sort of treatment maybe you'd only give games that are going into your own collection, or if you're just really serious about cleaning games and want to do the world a favor, this is pretty awesome. So it's sat. I'm going to rub this off. There's the dirt coming right off. Or corrosion, grime, whatever that might be. So when you hear of people on eBay selling polished games, this is exactly what they're doing. They are using a copper polish. So there you go. All they have is a security bit and copper polish, rag, and a little bit of time on their hands, and are able to clean the game really well. So of course, put it back together. Use those little hinges on the top of the game, line those up, make sure that the screws are lined up. I like to start the screws by hand with holding the bit in hand. Figure that does a pretty decent job. Goes a little faster. So if you're having trouble with your NES, with blinking games, this is one step that'll get you a little bit closer to having your games work out real nicely. I'll show you in another video eventually how to restore your system. That can be done another number of ways, but feel free to just stay tuned. Subscribe to this channel on YouTube, or check back in at videogamemuseum.com, especially if you're interested in just tips on cleaning. If you're interested in picking up some of our bits, we have these both in this size, which works for NES, Super Nintendo, N64, Game Boy, so on and so forth, and then also 4.5 millimeter size, which works for Sega Genesis carts and a number of different consoles. Hope your cleaning goes well, and happy retro gaming.